And then we take you right into how to find that specific business for sale and getting that business broker to work with you, which is in a large part based on this criteria. Finding the business for sale online, how to use online techniques to do it, using techniques of the seasoned entrepreneur, which is never to go to business brokers, don't go online. Develop insider contacts like bankers and attorneys and accountants and people who are key in an industry who already have contacts with all these people, who know who the good businesses are, who know who the owners are, who want to sell and who are looking to get out with a good purchase price or get out with a good partner to take over. They know all these people. And it takes a little time. You invest that time. You build some relationships with these people. And all of a sudden, they become fountains for you, fountains of value in who you want to contact. And they even provide you with warm, roasty, toasty introductions so that you're not that, as will come about later, that person picking up a cold phone or turning that hot doorknob because it's already been made warm and wonderful for you by the person who already has that contact and who is a prestige person in the eyes of that business owner, so that when you meet him, you've come to him through a prestige introduction. See, all those things start to knock down these barriers. We get into, in this section, all the things that will unstop this for you. All of the potential contact sources, all of the tools that are out there on the internet, in various places, magazines, all of the things that can be sources for you for how to find that right business. And even how to get a business broker to work for you. You know, this criteria is such an important part of this. If you go to a business broker and you say to them, and I can't tell you how many times I watch people do this. They go to the business broker and say something like, I'm interested in purchasing a business. I'm here. That's why I'm here. I want to purchase a business. I'm not sure what field I want to go into. So I'm looking for something that doesn't require a lot of work, that that I can just go in and basically collect the money, you know, kind of like a laundry, a coin-operated laundry or a car wash, or something along the lines of something that can make me a lot of money, but I don't have to put in a lot of time. And that's the way they start out. Okay, because they don't really know what field they want to go into. They don't really know what they want to do. And the very next thing that the broker asks them is, well, how much money do you have to put down? And let me see a copy of your financial statement. And it stops them right there because their statement looks like crap, pardon my French. And they don't have any money to put down that have any significance. And the reason the broker asks those two questions is you've already told him by the way in which you've approached him you're not professional. And he doesn't want to waste his time with you because he gets paid a commission. He only gets paid on a closing and from the proceeds of the sale. So if you haven't got any cash in his mind, how's this deal going to be structured so I can get cash for my commission, even if you ended up buying it somehow? So he has no interest in working with you. On the other hand, when you walk into that business broker and you're in your business suit, you look the part, you act the part, and you look him in the eye and you hand him a copy of your criteria and you say to him, now, Mr. Business Broker, I'm looking for a business in the ABC field. I want it to be doing right around 10 to 20 million in sales. That's the range I'm looking for. I need to know that it's operating in 3 locations, that it will have an employee size of roughly 150 employees, that it will have a net worth in excess of blank, that it will have assets and resources in these particular categories of blank. So this is the profile of the business that I'm looking for. And when I find that business, I'll be putting a down payment down of $1 million. How did you know that? You did the RMA study, okay? You knew how much assets were in those companies that you could finance. You knew what the debt against those assets were because that's what the RMA statement studies told you. So you knew how much additional financing could be done in a typical business of that size. So now you've given him the information that he needs to know to get very excited about you. And you don't have any credibility to build because he's going to be dusting off a chair and saying, come in, Mr. Buyer, sit right down here. I'm sure I've got something great for you. That's the difference in how you position yourself, but it takes homework. It takes homework. But when you've done the homework, which isn't that massive, we really outline it all for you here. then this is what you're able to get done. And you're able to clear that obstacle of number one and number two, and you're able to find a worthwhile business for sale. Now, the thing you still don't know is if it's a motivated seller, and I'm going to come up to that in a minute. I just want to finish out some of the other things that we're going to cover here, because these are some of the techniques that are outlined here for you to use. The insider contacts, how to tap those bankruptcy courts. Ooh, they're loaded right now with stuff that you can buy at phenomenal bargains. And you just got to know, how do you talk to the trustee? What does the trustee need to hear to be excited about you? How do you structure it for the trustee so the trustee gets what he wants to satisfy his needs in the bankruptcy court, and you get what you want at bargain prices and even for bargain terms? How do you do this using direct mail? This is one of our most successful techniques, is sending out letters to people in the field that you want to do business with. I'm not going to get into how of it here, because that's what we explain to you in the manual. It's all there, chapter and verse. Choosing that direct mail list, sending out your direct mail inquiries, how to qualify a business for sale. This is how you're finding out which ones are the ones that are worthwhile. How to qualify the seller. Now we start to get into the motivated seller here, the motivated seller portion of this. In the deal that I covered with you in our last webinar session, why is it that we had such a flexible seller? Well, he's not selling us his primary business. He's already sold that primary business to somebody else, made his deal there, whatever made him happy. Now, they've got this division or this product line that the buying company can't have, because the buying company would violate their covenant not to compete on another deal that they've made if they own that product line. They got to get rid of it. And it's an afterthought to them. They spent all their time negotiating their basic deal, and now they're ready to close, and they don't know what to do with this thing that they haven't figured out what to do with. So time's against them. They're motivated. The big deal's already been done. This is a cast-off. But it's a great cast-off. It's a profit maker. It's a winner. It's just much smaller than the original deal that these big guys did together. And so we got a motivated seller. Well, a thought that might go through your head is, well, you just got lucky, Bizarre. You know, I mean, it just, there it was. It was luck. Sure, it was luck. But you know how you get lucky? You get out there and put a lot of deals through the front end of your funnel. And a bunch of them will fall out because no motivated seller. The seller wants to hold out for the last dollar of value, and he wants all cash, and he's not ready to talk to you about anything else. Well, why do you want to waste time with him when you know out there are motivated sellers for dozens and dozens of reasons? But if you're wasting all your time talking to the guys who aren't flexible, who aren't motivated, you're pouring time down a drain that you could be using to find the motivated seller. And there's dozens of reasons for this. And there are transactions going on in any field every single day of company A buys company B, but they got to get rid of division C. Or they just don't want division C because it's just too small for them. Or it's not part of the strategic structure of the buying business. And this is just one set of things where you get a motivated seller. In the workbook, we take you through dozens of reasons that there are sellers that are motivated. So all of a sudden you have people who tell me, I can't find a motivated seller. I can't find a motivated seller. Well, have you looked? Have you read through all the possible ways that a seller becomes motivated? I'll give you one that's happening daily right now, just for example. You have people, from the biggest people to the smallest people, are going through divorces. Divorce is an equal opportunity messer-upper. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, it doesn't care. But when it hits you, it turns your life upside down no matter how big you are. And all of a sudden, you got to get rid of stuff. And for a whole bunch of psychological reasons, a lot of the things that these people own, including businesses, when they sell them, or pieces of businesses, they get really, really flexible because it's got to get handled. Estates. The business owner just died. and you got a widow and a trustee, and they don't know what the heck to do with this business. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And so if you know what you're looking for, you wish through all that other stuff, so you don't get stuck with it. And yeah, some great businesses you don't even take a really good look at. Why? Because the seller isn't motivated. And you learn to get through that stuff really, really quickly. I won't go through this, but if you're starting a business, there's a business startup checklist in there that can help you go through all the steps for getting started. Library research sources, anything you're going to want to research. So when you get into all this other stuff, when you get into the field that you want to go into, when you get into a specific business that you want to get into, when you're looking at any part of this equation, we have a research library there that will take you, if you just spend some time in it, just go in there and just read the headings, read the sites that are listed there. Think about them. How could I use this? What would this tell me? And all of a sudden you start to realize, wow, I can learn that. I can find out about this. This site will take me to where there's 500 venture capital sources and tell me everything I need to know about each one, and what deals they do and what deals they don't do, and what size businesses they want to look at, what industries they're excited about. It's all there. And learning how to use your internet search engines to find more. Learning where these internet business research websites are. They're all in this resource center. You can now tie in electronically into all your daily newspapers, all your weekly, bi-monthly, monthly magazines. I think print is not going to exist in another 5 to 10 years. Everything will be on a tablet or on your computer, and you'll be able to access everything electronically, and it'll all be indexed. So you put in the keywords of what you want, and it'll all magically appear for you. So in the past, where you may say, well, I'm not good at research. I don't know how to do that. I'm not patient enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. It's BS. It's getting easy. And all it's coming down to anymore is typing the right keywords into search engines and into other internet resources. So whatever was true for you in the past, whatever you weren't good at in the past, whatever was a little beyond you in the past, I will guarantee you that technology has made it more accessible for you, has made it easier for you to do it, has made it possible for you to overcome your own foibles in doing this. Look what we're doing with the multiple entity income transfer tool. We're taking something that is so complex that only a handful of very wealthy people can afford top professionals to work this through and think this through for them. And we're automating it so that an ordinary business operator or an ordinary consultant type person can sit down in any business and structure it for them what it would take people with tremendous experience and capabilities and insight to do in the past. And if you're not looking out for what's going on in the world that can bring that power to your fingertips, you're not doing yourself a favor. So what we try to do here in this section of what we do, and in our research library and all of that, is try and bring to your fingertips those things that can get you quickly and easily things that were beyond you in the past. So update your thought process here a little bit. Think in terms of today's technology and the things that are out there. Be open to what technology is accomplishing. I have a particular frustration with technology, and you may have it too. And my frustration is I got so many things that I'm into now. I got so many things, and they keep changing. I mean, not a week goes by and they haven't done a major revision on something I use. And now I got to go back and relearn that. And oh my God, I have no time for that. So I have to be a little careful, okay, of what tools I'm going to use, how I'm going to go about staying up on the process. And so one of the things that we're trying to do with Bizarre Financing is to keep bizarre financing that tool which sorts through all the wheat and the chaff out there, finds what's valuable to business owners to do and to have and to access, and then make sure that we've made it convenient and easy for them to get to it here. So please, stay up on our tools. Spend a little time to see what we've got here and get into some of them and just ask yourself, how can I use this? How can I use this? How, if I use this, will I be better off? Just ask yourself that question. And when answers start to pop up for you, then you invest a little time in looking at exactly what is it, how does it work, and how do you make it work for you. I'm going to bypass trends in business, not because it doesn't have value. It has phenomenal value. It has value in finding the worthwhile business. But this thing here, I could spend an hour, literally, on just this section. And I'll summarize it only this way. In here are all the psychographic, demographic reasons that people buy and do what they do, and how on a national and international basis movements occur that affect in mass how people think and what they do, when and how they do it. All that psychology, all of the reasoning and ration behind all of that stuff is simplified as much as we can make it simplified for you here. So that as you're thinking about any business, as you're in any business and looking to grow, understanding these elements that are here in, I want to just go to the end, in 18 pages, pretty tightly packed. But in those 18 pages, you will have a perspective on what it is that's going to happen over the next 8 years that is going to be major in terms of industries that grow, industries that shrink, how people think and make their buying decisions, how it is that commerce can come your way. And so investing some time to read through this is just part of identifying which businesses are going to be worthwhile for you to be in and which ones may not be. Now again, this is something here, D, asset analysis, that affects several of these, not just one of them. It affects worthwhile business because you have to understand the assets of the business and knowing if they have value or not and what value they have, and knowing what value to put on them for your purchase because you don't want to overpay. So it has a factor in this worthwhile, but it also has a big factor in the negotiating of the purchase. Because if you really understand this, I will guarantee you there are hidden assets in every business you go into that the owner has no clue what they're worth. No clue how to finance them. No clue how to utilize those assets in certain ways that can produce eminently more cash flow and value in their business. And so spending some time here, understanding the different categories of assets, learning how to evaluate an asset's value, how to do an asset analysis, ways to leverage machinery and equipment, inventory, whether you're a wholesaler or a manufacturer or a retailer, how to understand and put the appropriate value on accounts receivable, how to leverage those accounts receivable, valuing real estate, understanding how to leverage real estate, especially in today's marketplace. How appraisers are going to look at these things and how they look at them differently today than they did a year or two ago. Anybody who's bought a house in the last 2 years knows that the appraisers are different than they were 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the appraiser knew who they worked for. They worked for the seller. And the seller wanted only one thing: a high appraisal. And the buyer wanted only one thing: a high appraisal to get it financed. And the banker or the lender didn't count in this process. It doesn't work that way anymore. Now, most laws and states have changed. Most appraisals are now done blind. They can't have any communication with the seller or the buyer. They have to go in, they have to do their independent appraisal, they give it back, that's it. And they work for the banks now, okay, in their mind. And so what they're looking for is now a low and totally realistic, but low appraisal. And so the values have shifted in this world. And knowing how to work with that shift in the thinking process is, again, an important part of this process. And we try to keep it captured here for you. Continuing through the asset analysis, depending on what kind of business you're going to go into, how it will be appraised, how you can get it appraised differently by taking a different approach to how it's appraised. These are some of the aspects of this that can be very, very valuable in this process. And the same is true for doing the financial analysis. Understanding a financial statement. I can't tell you how many people in business, this amazes me, never look at a financial statement on their own company. They view it as kind of a necessary evil that they kind of have to keep for bankers and for tax people and for other people who would have maybe inquiries about their business. But they very rarely look at it in terms of how can it help them manage their company better. Well, if you're buying a company, that financial statement is going to spell out everything you need to know to price that business. Understanding financial statements, understanding what they tell you, what they don't tell you. It's all in the program here. It's all there. Not being intimidated by numbers on a financial statement and knowing how to properly put them into our tools, into our business price calculator, into our doable deal analyzer, which will take all the guesswork out of evaluating your company. You still have to pull those numbers from the financial statement or data on the company. And so you've got to have a rudimentary understanding of this here. And if you're smart, you'll go beyond rudimentary understanding, because in there are some phenomenal management tools for running your business and knowing what's not working in your business and what has to work differently in order for you to increase sales and make a good net profit. But all these two here, both asset analysis and financial analysis, help you in the foundation of being a good negotiator, because once you master an understanding of these, you don't have to be able to do them. You can hire an accountant to do them. You can hire an appraiser to do them. But by understanding them, you become a great negotiator, because now you know what your pivot points are within the financial analysis and within that asset analysis. And they together help you complete the business price calculator so that you understand those values. You understand what portion of value is you're paying for that's really goodwill, what's in that goodwill, what makes it up, and how to finance that goodwill, because the goodwill is the hardest part of the business, it's the finance. Other ways of valuing the business. Again, these things are all here, and all these tools, all these understandings and tools are part of understanding what makes a business worthwhile to buy, and then giving you the pivot points to make that incredible negotiation that make this a real win for you. Now that takes us to our doable deal analyzer, which again takes you through those 114 different sources and methods of funding that purchase. So that the cash is going to be there. It's going to come from someplace. It's just not going to come from you. And when you've got as many sources as we have here, and you've gone through it, and you know what each one is, and you've matched it against the business that you're trying to buy, and you've asked yourself the key question, all right, technique number 103, blankety blank, whatever it is. How do I use that? Can it apply here? If I were to use it, what advantage would that be for me? You see, those are critical questions to ask yourself about each and every one of those 114 sources. And when you've done that systematically, it's impossible not to have enough cash to close your deal. It's impossible. The only way it's possible is if the business isn't worthwhile and it doesn't produce enough revenue to purchase itself, in which case, who wants to buy it? So if it's a worthwhile purchase, the money will be there. It'll be in those 114 sources. And they're all here. Keeps on going, page after page. Again, this is not to go through every one of them, is to remind you that they're here and that they're designed to overcome these stopping points once you understand them.